Hi guys, welcome back to Forgetful Scholar, and this week we're going to chat about books. 3 books this week. I know, I'm even surprised myself. This is if the last video was library haul, and this 2 weeks I'm going to be reading the library books that I borrowed because I have to get them back. So this would be the only time I would do like a reading challenge per se. It's not really a reading challenge. It's just like, oh shoot, I gotta get these back at this date. Let me read them up, right? So the first book, probably the biggest disappointment in the bundle. Oh, let me tell you. So, contemporary mystery, contemporary horror, and space science fiction. What would you call necromancy in space? Space fantasy? Sci-fi fantasy? I'm gonna go with sci-fi fantasy. Anyway, so the first book I'm gonna talk about as the biggest disappointment is the contemporary mystery one. It is Hidden by Fern Micheals. Now look at that cover. Isn't that an intriguing cover? This cover is a lie. And this is the first book in a lost and found novel. But this cover, a lie. First of all, it's just, this like indicates maybe someone's gonna break into a house, or maybe the house is haunted, or maybe something horrible happened to a house. Let me tell you something. No, none of that stuff happened, alright? I'm getting all like, I sound like my aunt. I need to calm down. Okay. So every time I get riled up, I sound like my mom and my aunts, and I need to calm down. Okay. So this was published in 2021, and it's 279 pages. And let me tell you, when I say nothing happened for the first 100 pages, I mean, frick all happened for the first 100 pages. We were basically told about Luna and her brother, Callum. And not even so much about Callum, but about Luna. At length. Told. Not shown. Told. So I'm like, okay, great. Perfect. And like, I get it. You know, this author has like a very impressive, you know, catalog of books. You know, it's very impressive. A lot of mystery. Awesome. But you know what? Every great author has a flaw. And I think this might be it. Sorry, my leg is hurting, so I have to move it. You ever get that point where your chronic illness tells you that your leg is broken when your leg isn't broken? You have that internal battle that you basically tell your brain to shut the up because your leg's not broken? No? No? Just me? Okay, great. So this was a 1 star, and if I could give it a 0 star, I would. But I'm just giving it a 1 star because the fact of like the act putting it to paper, I guess. I don't know. If I could give a 0 star on Goodreads, I freaking would. Okay? So 100 pages, nothing happens. You know what happens? Let me tell you what happens. You get told about Luna and her brother Callum from their POVs. Like, it is the weirdest writing style. I was like, what is this writing style? You know? Because like, it's so tell, not show. And this is like a veteran writer. So I was so confused by that. So that really threw me off. And Luna is psychic. Also, she has a doctorate in, I forget what it's called, but like body language. So she's basically like OP as hell, right? And I'm like, all right, fine. And it's fine, I guess. I don't really like those characters because I feel like I don't like Mary Sue's. You know, it's one thing if the Mary Sue is in a universe where everyone's a Mary Sue, then it's fine. Especially if they could grow in other ways, like emotionally, you know, that's usually what happens. That's cool. But this was so, I don't even know how to describe it. It was beige. It was beige, okay? It was just blah. And like, I'm so upset. So like 100 pages, we get backstory on Callum a little bit. He was a business manager, then he opened up his own restoration shop, and his sister owns the coffee shop right next door. Like, they kind of put their businesses together. That's pretty much it on the brother. He loves his little sister. That's pretty much it, right? And then Luna is psychic, and she works with Child Protective Services, and she does readings, and she has this coffee shop, and like 2 years ago, because the story starts off 2 years from when the mystery actually freaking happens. And don't even get me started on the mystery. We'll get there. We got 3 books to do, so I'm going to try to do this fast. Okay. as I take a huge pause. Anyway, there was a girl who went missing. Luna signed up to help find her because, like, that's awesome. Again, this is very telly, not showy. Anyway, she meets a hot U.S. Marshal. They find the kid. The U.S. Marshal later contracts her and she does, like, freelance for the U.S. Marshal Services. Cool. And she's hottie for Marshall and the hot Marshall. And the hot Marshall's hot, like, hot for her. But she works under him, so he's not going to do the first move. So she's going to have to. Okay. Great. 2 years later, and there's random POVs of people that do not matter in the story. Like, Ellie is a sweet older woman, close, I think she's 70, and she created this art center where the siblings have their shop. And she's very nice, and she is, like, pondering how the hot Marshal deserves someone great and how Luna deserves someone great. But she doesn't try to matchmake them or anything. And I was like, what is the point of this woman's POV? What is the point? I'll tell you the point. There was none. Okay? And then later in the book, we get her POV again. I was like, I don't give a flying like, what? What are you here for? Nothing. Okay? You did nothing. All right? Ugh. So the big mystery, we find out first chapter. Like, first chapter really getting into it. This old guy croaked and his new will is gone. And his spoiled 60-year-old son and his gold digger wife. And this is the writer saying this because we're in Rowena, who is the gold digger's POV. And she proudly calls herself a gold digger. And I'm just like, wow, great job writing one-dimensional characters that have no particular depth. And this goes for the main characters too. I was like, what the hell is happening? Anyway, so they have to find this will. And since the brother does restoration work, I was like, obviously he's going to find it, right? Mystery solved, done, 100 pages, we're done. No, okay? It goes back and forth. Then we get the random maid's POV who worked for the dead old guy and her 6-year-old son who did not act like a normal, like an average 6-year-old boy, but whatever. He was like an angelic little thing, which is great, I guess. We get her POV a lot. We get the random POV of the PI that's hunting her down, like, a lot. There's no suspense. There's no mystery. She runs away from the hotel with her son to find the dead guy's lawyer. She finds him, the dead guy's lawyer. She tells him everything she knows. She has a notebook with the details. The dead guy's lawyer's son hits on the maid. Great, lovely, yay. I was like, cool, but also not needed because Callum, Luna, and the hot Marshal, I don't remember his name, found out who the will belongs to because it has the dead guy's name on it and the law firm on it. Like, like, there was no mystery. Nothing. And when I tell you nothing happens in the story till 200 pages, nothing happens in the story till 200 pages, okay? The Rowena, the gold digger, I hate saying that, but the gold digger breaks into Column's shop to find it after, like, having this weird back and forth with Luna, like that apparently had to be 5 pages. No. And then randomly we get a POV of the guy that sold Callum the original furniture that he did the restoration on. He tries to break in to take it too. Like, it was completely ridiculous. And it was completely caught, and no suspense, no mystery involved in this whatsoever. So I don't know what the hell the point of this book was. And, like, humor, I get it. It's subjective. I did not like the humor in this book. I didn't find it funny. And, like, the banter between Luna, her brother, and then Luna and the hot Marshal was boring. I was like, how? Like, this isn't even fun. There's no, like, ooh, her and the Marshal. Like, nothing. Like, I was just like... And there's no, like, written chemistry in the book. It's just that we're told she's hot for the hot Marshal. And he's hot. Like, it was very tell. I was like, come on, man. You're a seasoned author. Like, what is this? And the mystery? No mystery. We know, like, chapter 1 what's happening. What's lost. And, like, if you have 2 brain cells, you know Callum and Luna's gonna find it. Because he has a restoration business. And Last Will and Testament have the deceased's name on it, their law firm, the law firm's address. Like, it's not like this, oh no, how are we ever going to find him? So, like, the maid, no point. No point. Even her, like, feeling like she was being stalked. Since we were in the PI's like point of view, nothing. And like the dead guy's son, I thought we were gonna get like, I thought he was going to be like the issue here because he's like screaming at Rowena. He's breaking things. She flinches. I thought there might be a little bit more going on, a little bit more in-depth story with Rowena and her getting out of the situation, or like maybe like him getting caught. Like if the dead guy's son got caught in the shop, I would have felt better because he was such the whole book, you know? So it's like just boring. Boring. How dare you? How dare you, book? So the second book, the second book I read was the horror book, Bless Your Heart, Lindy Ryan novel. This one was published in 2024, and it's 295 pages. This follows the Evans sisters, the Evans family story. So they're in a small East Texas town. You know, I guess like in the 90s, because they reference Buffy the Vampire Slayer and like stuff that happened, like pretty horrible events that happened in the 90s. So like it takes place in the 90s, right? So Luna is the youngest. She's 16 or 15, and she's having nightmares, and she's feeling like her mother is really controlling, and you know, they're not telling her everything, right? Turns out her mother, Grace, Luna's grandmother, Lenore, and the Luna's great-grandmother, Ducey, they were having quite the secret. You know, they killed Strigoi. And I thought it was great, like the little sprinkled of folklore, Eastern European folklore in it. I thought it was great. I thought it was great how they're like, well, we don't know everything about it, you know? So I thought that was interesting. I loved the Evans females. They were great, rich characters. They were clearly different voices, you know. How they were showing, and the Strigoi are like the Eastern European vampires. I think it'll be easier to think of them more like ghouls, you know. So what happens in this town? One of the women there getting ready for the funeral, because they run the funeral parlor, wakes up and is a ghoul. So they kill her or re-kill her. Stab her in the heart. Kill the heart. Kill the heart or the brain. Kills it, right? And they're given another victim, and same thing happened with him. Okay. Now this one I gave 3 stars. I'm not really a horror reader, and honestly, I don't know what else genre you would classify this book in. But I was not scared. There was no suspense for me. There was no like, and you guys know, horror books, I'm a big old weenie. I can't. Put them in the freezer, kill the demons. I can't. Like, this book did not scare me at all. And I read it at night. Like, I was trying to, okay, maybe I'll do like an ambiance, read it at night. It was spooky. No, nothing. I was like, okay, that's weird. But it didn't scare me. Maybe it'll scare someone. I don't know. I'm a big weenie. So, like, if it didn't scare me, you know what I mean? But the Evans sisters, I think they're, not sisters, keep saying that. The Evans family, I think they are worth giving this book a try. I don't want to give too many spoilers because, again, this just came out. I will say the red herring was so red herring, it was glow in the dark. And I never read this author before, and I was like, please let this just be a red herring, because if this turns out to be kind of like a red herring double flip, it was the red herring all along, gotcha, I'd be so pissed. I would be so pissed, especially when the second theme of this book was to not judge people on appearances, and I thought that was a really beautiful sentiment, so that if it was this person, I was going to be pissed, you know what I mean? It wasn't. It was the second person I kind of assumed it was. The thing that did get me, like, the Evans women were like, we have to go hunting. Like, every time they were in the chapter, we gotta go hunting tonight. Did they go hunting? No. Grace, Luna's mom, goes hunting one night. She goes, because one of their friends is turned, so that she goes to her house, and then she goes to the park to have a cigarette. But anyway, so, like, they're not good at hunting, okay? The Strigoi that they killed are the ones that, like, the police brought to them to stab, you know what I mean? Well, because they thought they were dead, and they rose again, and they stabbed them, you know? So, like, they got, like, 3 of them, because they were brought to them, you know? And I was kind of disappointed because I was really looking forward to like going with them on the hunt and see how they do it, you know. And it would have been smart if they did go hunting, because I was like, if you guys don't go hunting, the final boss battle, there's going to be a lot of Strigoi, and there's only 4 of you, you know? And again, I don't read horror, so I don't know if so many POVs is like the thing, like normal. It could be. So I didn't want to judge it on that, because again, not my genre, so I don't want to talk about the structure of it, you know? I thought the writing style was a lot of fun. It was smooth. They mentioned Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Hey, love that. I did like Luna. The thing is, when Luna finds out her family are basically Strigoi hunters, you see her like, she's like, well, that's what we got to do. You see the strength in her. And I'm like, yes, Luna, yes, I'm excited. And then I'm like, where did that Luna go? Because I volunteer with a youth group that is ages from 7 to 17, right? Teenagers are not stupid. They're impulsive, but they are not stupid. You know what I mean? So I'm really tired of people writing teenagers stupidly, you know? Because they're not stupid. They're just impulsive, you know? There's a difference. So I was like, oh man, because after that point, Luna was kind of written like she was stupid. You know, she knows these Strigois are out there, and instead of going to help her family hunt, she wants to hang out with the cute boy. And I was like, okay, like, I could understand that happening if, like, hey, we have to have a family dinner, an important conversation's gonna happen. No, I'd rather hang out with the cute boy. I get that, right? But, like, no, I'd rather hang out with the cute boy than hunting down ghouls, even though I just found this last night, and I feel like a sense of duty. Like, that's what got me, because, like, the sense of responsibility and duty Luna showed when she found out was kind of overshadowed by, like, ooh, hot guy, hearts and kisses. And I was like, Luna, get your head in the game. You're better than this, you know? So I was like, oh, man, you know? And there's one point, and I think this was just for the author, because I'm so tired of, like, teenagers making stupid decisions so the author can go from point A to point C because they can't figure out another way of doing it. You know what I mean? Like, it's just for story progression. I'm like, come on. And I think this author has a lot of potential. The way this book sucked me in, I didn't want to stop reading it, and it was a joy to read. 3 stars. I enjoyed myself, you know? So I think they could have done better than this, right? So at one point, in the middle of, like, a huge tense scene, Luna leaves. Like, Luna finds out, like, the huge secret they're keeping from her. And boy, that was a huge secret. I will give it that. I enjoyed that twist. I liked that secret. It was intense. It was worthy of all this lead up and all this trauma and everything. Like, it was a really good secret, right? I was like, ooh, chef's kiss. I like this. Ooh, you know? She leaves to her friend's house. And I was like, you know Strigoi are out there. You go to your friend's house. And not only that, she tells her friends everything, right? And then she leaves. They don't go with her. She just leaves. I was like, oh, maybe the friends will show up in the final battle and help out. That would be cute. No. And I get this is probably a first in the series, but that bothered me so much. There was no point in that scene except to get Luna isolated, you know? And I feel like this author is talented enough. It could have been done a different way. And, like, that annoyed me because it showed Luna to be, again, this kind of airheaded kid when, like, she really isn't. Or at least in the first half of the book, she showed herself to be, like, confused, upset at the secret, have this big sense of duty, kind of this conflicting thing is going on in her brain, which fair, and, like, really care about her friends. So this was, like, weird to me that she put them kind of in danger. And again, I hate the whole trope of, like, if I tell them what's really happening, they're going to be in danger. I think that's stupid. But that is a trope in most stories for a reason, you know, to cause drama. I get it. But it was just so annoying. This just felt like to get her isolated. And this author is so talented, they could have done it another way, right? And the end of the thing, there was the classic, like, oh, but is it over? And I was like, well, of course not. This is obviously a beginning of a series. And it was very, like, horror movie-esque how it ended. I was like, okay. But, like, Luna and her family were like, oh, dun, 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 da, you know? And I was like, no, the basic reason for the Strigoi awakening in the first place has not been addressed. Can we think about this? It's not even close to being done. we need to buckle down, girls. We need to have a sesh, a brainstorming sesh to fix this out. You know what I mean? I was like, what the hell? I don't even know if those were words, but I think you get what I meant. I was just like, obviously this is first of the series, so, you know. I will say there's a lot of death. And it is very grotesque. Again, I was impressed by the writing style. I wasn't really confused by the descriptions, and that can't be easy writing like a flesh dripping ghoul kind of a thing, you know. So I was, you know, there's a lot of this book I was impressed by. It's just, and there's a lot of death, and my favorite character of the whole book died, and I was like, oh, well, it's horror, you know. You don't expect, and obviously Luna is supposed to be the last girl, you know, kind of thing, which was like fine. I had fun with it. Was it my favorite? No. Was it better than Hidden? Oh, hell yes. Do I think this author is very talented? Yes. And I freaking love this cover. You know, I really do. So, that was cool. All right. So, the last book this week is Gideon the Ninth by Tamsyn Muir. And this is the fantasy sci-fi necromancy in space. And this was 4 stars. This, of course, it's fantasy, so it has the parts, like part 1, part, you know. I thought the pacing was fantastic in those parts. Each part could be taken as like a tiny little novella in the story, and I enjoyed it. Gideon was so freaking entertaining. She was so freaking entertaining. So this book was, I think, the biggest one from the library hall. 444 pages, and published in 2019. Now, strip down the necromancy and the space, right? Strip it down for a second. At the heart of this book, this is people trapped in an isolated manor, and they're getting picked off, and we have to figure out who the murderer is. Like, at its core, that's what it is, right? Put everything back. I thought the world building was so much fun. I really enjoyed this, and interesting going into this, because I was reading, I was like, oh, because there's 9 planets, technically 8, because the first planet is where they end up, and, like, it's uninhabitable, except for, like, the priests, of this one little manor, or one little castle, whatever it was, and I was like, interesting, because usually necromancers are, like, the bad guy, so so I was like, this is fascinating, and there's so many different types of necromancy. I thought that was very clever. I really liked Gideon. So when she goes, okay, so Gideon and Harrow, their relationship is like, oof. And I was like, if they're going to be together, then they need to be classified as a bully romance, because Harrow, she's horrible to Gideon for, like, first part 1 and part 2. Like, she is really, like, I don't know how this author did it, because, like, I hated Harrow in the beginning, and at the end of it, it's like, no, my girl Harrow is gonna fix this. Hell yeah. So that's kind of how the progression in this book happens, you know? So I thought that was very clever, a lot of fun. I'm trying not to give too much away, because I can think of, like, 3 people off the top of my head in my real life that I told them they should read this book. It's great. They'll really love it. So I don't want to give too much away. I will say that who the murderer turned out to be, I clocked it from the beginning. But there's a twist on the identity. And I was like, ooh, that is fun. Oh, wow, that is fun. So I enjoyed this. So basically, each planet is sending their heir and their cavalier to the first planet to basically compete to become, I can't pronounce the words, like Lishir, the useless undying king, because he's a useless piece of shit. Called them saints. So I'm just going to call them saints, right? To become a saint. And it means, like, a big deal for the planets. I guess they get prosperous and everything like that. And in the beginning of the book, like, the book starts, Gideon is trying to escape. And it was the slowest, boringest escape ever. I was like, this better get better, because that sucks. It gets better. So anyway, they go there, and Gideon's not allowed to talk. And she has, like, face makeup of a skull. And she realizes the power in not talking, because everyone gives so much away, right? And I'm just trying to show you what kind of character Gideon is, right? So when she's allowed to talk, the first thing she says to one of the other heirs is like, did you know the first letter of your first name and the first 3 letters of your first name, the first 3 letters of your last name, you put together, it makes the word sex pal. And everyone's like, wow, I thought you would be totally different when you start talking. I'm like, oh, that's Gideon, you know? Um, and Gideon is so lonely and has been bullied so much in her life that people just generally being decent to her, she's like, oh, they're so nice to me, I like them, which makes sense, you know, what Gideon's gone through. I get it, right? But like, girl, and I'm not gonna, I'll let you, because to explain some of those things in this book, there will be spoilers, but I'll put the word spoiler, and then when that's done, the spoilers are at an end, okay? But we're not at that point yet. But I was like, girl, you're competing for sainthood. Everyone here is competing. If you're in a situation where you're competing, doesn't matter what it is. Could be like a sports, it could be like a board game, could be a spelling bee, doesn't matter. If someone from the other team starts flirting with you, honey, that's not real. That's a tactic. But like, obviously she's so lonely and starved for affection, you know, she doesn't see it. And it is very sapphic, and I enjoyed that quite a bit. But like, oh, I was like, Gideon, no. And while Harrow and Gideon are there, they become almost friends. And they definitely trauma bond. Like, they definitely trauma bond, right? Now, I enjoyed it. It is definitely a first in the series. I think it's going to be a duet. I'm looking forward to the second one. I want to see how Harrow fixes it, okay? So, to become a saint, there's this whole complicated ritual, which means taking, not only killing someone, but also taking a piece of their flesh, ingesting it, so their soul is within you, right? So this is where spoilers are going to start happening. Okay. In the final battle, they're going against a 10,000-year-old saint, and they can't win. And Gideon is like, okay, I'm going to do something really horrible, but you know, deal with it, Harrow. And she throws herself onto spikes and dies. And I say dies because, and then they become a saint, which no, because Harrow didn't eat any of your flesh, so this isn't working, right? But together they managed to defeat the bad guy, right? But I was like, wait a minute, you just established that's not how that happened. So something's going on. Also, something's going on because the whole book, it's been established Gideon's really hard to kill. Like, stuff that should have killed her has not. The poison that killed 200 of her other kids when she was right next to the vent did not harm her. Didn't even give her the sniffles. She's so hard to, like, every time when growing up, Harrow tried to poison her, she got maybe a little sick. That was it. So, like, growing up, the head of Planet 9, which is, like, takes care of the tomb, the king and queen were freaked out by Gideon because she can't be killed. You know, like in the trials, Harrow has to siphon her life force to the point where Harrow's like, you shouldn't be alive. And Gideon just has like a hangover, you know? So me thinking like she threw herself in the spikes and is dead, I'm like, yeah, freaking right. You know? No, you know? And then waking up, okay, spoilers done. And then waking up, Harrow's by herself. No Gideon. We don't hear from Gideon, you know. And the king is like, the useless king. She's like, can you fix it? He's like, no. But now but our people need saints in this everlasting war. I was like, okay, there's hints of war throughout the book, right? And I'm like, who are they fighting? And is this going to turn out that they're all the bad guys? Because, you know, that would be cool. And like unknowing bad guys, like even more fun. You know what I mean? But the Undying King, useless, absolutely useless. He sat on his ass in the spaceship while like the killer was just massacring all his heirs. Like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Completely useless. And a lot of people die in this too. And a lot of the people I really liked were killed. I was like, aw, I like them though. But, you know. Anyway, Gideon is nowhere to be found. And I'm like, Like, all these people's bodies are not found. This is a necromancer universe. Don't see a body. I don't believe it. And I'm like, Harrow, my girl, we gotta fix this. Let's go. You know, because Harrow's, like, brilliant. And all of a sudden, like, the girl that she trauma bonded her whole life with is gone. And she's like, yeah, I don't think so. You know, and Harrow's very sneaky. So, or like I'm hoping the duet like fixes some things. Because obviously, no body in a necromancy universe, and you're telling me they're dead? No. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna stop before I say things that might give it away, because the twist is a lot of fun. The story's a lot of fun, you know. And as someone who's not really into sci-fi, to say that, so I think people who are really into it will probably really enjoy it, or have, because again, I'm late to this. I'm a thrift store queen. I like the libraries. Like, it's very rare when I get a book right when it, you know, releases. So anyway, I don't want to, but it's time for me to get back to the railroad. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you later. Bye.